As you heard before the break, Bridget Spinney and her family have $27,000 in credit card debt, and that's on top of her mortgage.
So Lauren Grootman, she's author of the new book, The Recovering Spender, started working with Bridget to help her regain control of her finances.
So why do so many of us lose control when it comes to our spending? Psychologist Elizabeth Lombardo is here to answer that question.
Hi.
So the gang's all here. Bridget, okay, so let's get the headline first. You started off $27,000 in debt, and with the help of Lauren, where are you? And this was just a few months ago. So where are you today?
So we were able to do an emergency fund. So we had $1,500 in our emergency fund, and then paid off our first $1,000 towards.
So you're
in 1 month you've done that.
In 3 months. But also, I want to take note that she was also behind in her mortgage by a few months. And so she caught up to the mortgage.
Good for you.
She put $1,500 in the emergency savings account. And I'm just so proud of you.
Yeah.
And have you missed any of the things that you thought were making you so happy, like the shoes and the vacations and all of that stuff?
No, and my kids are better at it now, too. They know what we've done.
Yeah.
So
Lauren,
I'm very proud of
I mean,
them.
you know better than anyone.
Right.
You were so deeply in debt, and it took you 6 years to get out. So what were the first things that you advised Bridget to do?
Yeah, so one of the big things, so in my book, I talk about a 12-step process of how to get out of debt and redefine your life with your money. And so some of the steps that I talked about was that you really need to learn how to declutter your life to regain your joy. And I've been on here many times talking about decluttering, but how do you do that and then put money aside? Also taking an inventory of your spending, knowing where you're spending, and I think that was one of her downfalls. She didn't know where her money was going.
Like eating, if you don't keep a track of how many calories you've
So
had
what
that
was
day.
your biggest Achilles heel? It's funny, you weren't buying big things. What were you doing? Where was the money? Like,
Not budgeting, so using our ATM.
so you took out $100 and $100, and then all of a sudden
and
it
then you
added
couldn't
up.
track any of where that went,
Yeah.
and you were, instead of prospective budgeting now, we're catching up then.
Good for you.
Bring in Elizabeth, and there are whys behind all of this, because
Yes.
a lot of us are guilty of this.
Of
So what
course,
are
of
the
course.
big whys behind
Yeah.
why we do this?
So we're focusing on the short term, what I want now, as
Yeah.
opposed to long term, what makes sense. A lot of times people, when they feel stressed, they might go to food. Some people go to shopping. And so that helps bring down the stress temporarily.
Yeah.
But in the long term, it increases your stress, which then makes it more likely that you're going to overspend and actually perpetuates this cycle.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle,
It
isn't
is,
it?
yeah.
You can actually see the stress disappearing, because we were watching you watch the piece, and you were so emotional because you were back in that space.
Yeah.
But how does it feel to know that you're kind of climbing out now?
One of the things I said on the video was, I just need a little bit of peace, and I'm starting to feel that. And so it gives you that momentum.
You're feeling hope, too.
Yes.
You see it's going to take a while, but this is working.
Yes.
And from when I first started working with her, back in May to where she is now, you can even see, I did a documentary with her family, and you can see the stress, every single video go off more and more and more, and it was just incredible. Just incredible.
And
Think of
family
what you're going to
life.
save in beauty creams.
Yeah. Right? There's another way to say it, right?
And your family life must be just, I mean, I can only imagine how much less stressful
Everybody's
it is.
got to be involved in it, right?
Yes, my kids are on board, and they know when I talked to my son, he said, yeah, it just had to be done. And so
done.
Love this kid who's got 2 jobs also.
I know.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm
we do
doing
feel
well.
entitled a little bit. We see everybody that's got everything in this
Right.
world. It's natural
We
to
think-
want it.
It's natural to want it, especially you said, you worked hard, you kind of deserve it. It's also, we tend to compare ourselves to other people,
Yeah.
right? And so, well, if they have it, then I should have it too, so that I can kind of keep up with the Joneses. That's not going to bring you more happiness. As you have already seen, it only increases your stress.
And your marriage is stronger now, which
Yes.
is great, because that was going to be on a rocky
Thanks,
path as well.
guys.
That's just so
All right, if you're trying to climb out of a financial hole, email us your question. Lauren's going to be back later in the month to talk about that stuff.